Here's Section I, Discovery of the Substance with a minimum of 700 words. #I, Discovery of the Substance. The Galactic Federation prided itself on its knowledge of the cosmos. For thousands of years, the greatest civilizations had charted the stars, cataloging every mineral, gas, and anomaly in existence. Their vast database of known substances, weapons, and biological enhancements was unparalleled. They had tamed black holes, built Dyson spheres, and mastered quantum entanglement for instantaneous communication. And yet, despite all their advancements, they had never encountered this. It started as an ordinary mining expedition, carried out by an interstellar survey team stationed in the remote Korthus sector, an uncharted stretch of space that had drawn little interest from the Federation due to its barren, lifeless appearance. The mission was routine: survey the planets, extract any valuable minerals, and move on. Among the crew was a small human detachment, 5 scientists and a handful of security personnel, included only because humans had recently joined the Federation and insisted on participating in galactic expeditions. Humans were still seen as newcomers, a young and primitive species with decent adaptability but little to offer in terms of scientific innovation. The major powers of the Federation barely acknowledged them, dismissing them as a species of warriors, survivors, and little else. The discovery was an accident. While surveying a moon orbiting a gas giant, a human geologist named Dr. Elias Carter stumbled upon a strange, shimmering deposit embedded deep within the rock. At first glance, it resembled nothing more than crystallized silica, but its glow was unnatural. The substance pulsed faintly, as though alive. Curious, Dr. Carter extracted a small sample and placed it in containment. Scanners registered no radiation, toxicity, or instability. It was completely inert. Back on the survey ship, further analysis confirmed what the scanners had already said: it was nothing. No energy output, no unusual chemical composition. Just another useless mineral. The other alien scientists quickly lost interest. Bag it, tag it, and move on, the mission leader, a Zalari named Vorthan, had said. But something about it bothered Carter. It wasn't just that it glowed. It was how it made him feel when he touched it. Curiosity got the better of him. In the privacy of his quarters, he decided to conduct an unofficial test. He ground a small fragment into dust and introduced it into a liquid medium. Then, against every ethical protocol, he took a risk. He ingested a minuscule amount. The effects were subtle at first. A slight clarity in his thoughts, a sharpening of perception. But within hours, the change became undeniable. His cognitive abilities surged. Concepts that had once taken him weeks to comprehend became instantly clear. His mind processed information at speeds that should have been impossible. His memory, once hazy with fatigue, became photographic. He recalled every moment of his life with perfect clarity. His physical body felt lighter, stronger. He performed a series of dexterity tests on himself and found his reaction time had increased nearly tenfold. Carter was no fool. He understood the implications immediately. This substance wasn't just another rock. It was something more. And, more importantly, it only affected him. He tested it on a lab rat taken from the ship's biosection, no effect. Then, discreetly, he tested it on a Zalari crewmate by slipping an invisible trace into their drink. Again, nothing. No reaction. No change. Only humans. By the time Carter reported his findings to the rest of the human team, the Federation's analysts had already dismissed the substance. They had no idea what they had walked away from. The humans, however, were not so easily deterred. They transmitted their data to Earth, encrypting it heavily. Word spread quickly within humanity's highest scientific circles. The preliminary findings were shocking. If the substance truly worked as Carter claimed, it could be the greatest evolutionary leap in human history. A substance that enhanced intelligence and physical capability permanently? The implications were beyond comprehension. Naturally, such an extraordinary discovery couldn't remain hidden for long. The first sign of trouble came a week later when the Federation sent a formal request for full disclosure of all findings. It was an odd move. The Federation rarely showed interest in dead-end research, Yet here they were, pressing for additional details on a material they had already deemed inert. Had they suspected something? Had someone leaked the truth? Earth's leaders debated their next move carefully. It was clear they had stumbled upon something extraordinary, something powerful. If the Federation knew the full truth, they might declare the substance a Class X hazard, banning its use entirely. Or worse, they might try to control it, limiting human access while hoarding samples for themselves. So, the decision was made. They would lie. Humanity sent back an edited report, one that mimicked the Federation's own findings, an inert, worthless mineral with no applications of note. The official response from the Federation was underwhelming, a simple acknowledgement of receipt. But behind the scenes, humanity went to work. The highest levels of Earth's government classified the research, diverting resources to studying the substance in secret. Laboratories were built in remote locations, away from prying alien eyes. Experiments expanded, volunteers carefully monitored. It wasn't long before they realized the terrifying truth. This wasn't just a minor enhancement. The more a human was exposed, the more they evolved. It wasn't simply a boost in intelligence or agility. The changes were exponential. A single exposure had doubled a man's reaction time. A second dose increased it fivefold. A third, beyond measurable limits. The Federation had always considered humans adaptable, but now they were something else entirely. A species with unlimited potential for self-improvement. A species that, given enough exposure, could surpass every other race in the galaxy. The Federation had missed it. But if they ever found out, one thing was certain. They would never let humanity keep it. ###2. The true nature of the substance, ***. The Galactic Federation had encountered many anomalies in its long history, rare elements, unknown forms of energy, even substances that defied conventional physics. But never before had they encountered something that seemed completely inert to all known races, yet exhibited profound effects on a single species. That species, of course, was humanity. The human scientific community wasted no time after Dr. Elias Carter's discovery. While the official Federation reports categorized the substance as inert, research on Earth had already accelerated beyond anything the galactic authorities could imagine. Secretive laboratories were established in deep space outposts, and the brightest human minds were gathered in top-security research stations. The goal was simple: to understand what this substance truly was and what it could do. It didn't take long to realize the implications were far more significant than anyone had initially suspected. ###The human secret. The breakthrough came when Dr. Helen Marquez, a leading geneticist from the European Coalition's Space Institute, conducted a long-term study on the substance's effects. Test subjects exposed to trace amounts demonstrated persistent changes in cognitive function, memory retention, and spatial awareness. But more concerning was what happened with continued exposure. What had initially been assumed to be a temporary enhancement was, in fact, permanent. The substance didn't just augment the human body, it fundamentally rewired it. Neural pathways reorganized themselves, muscle fibers became denser, metabolic rates increased, and even the immune system showed heightened efficiency. Subjects weren't just getting smarter, they were evolving. By the third week of testing, one subject had memorized entire research papers after a single reading. Another could predict complex mechanical failures by merely listening to the hum of a spaceship's engine. Reaction times weren't just improving, they were surpassing anything previously recorded. The most startling discovery, however, was that the effects were compounding. If a single exposure granted a minor increase, repeated exposure yielded logarithmic improvements. The more a person ingested, the more their body adapted, and there seemed to be no ceiling to this process. What started as small enhancements soon turned into full-scale biological and neurological overhauls. Humanity had stumbled upon the key to its own accelerated evolution, and no other species in the galaxy could access it. ###The Federation's interest grows. The Galactic Federation wasn't blind to the situation. While their own scientists continued to dismiss the material as worthless, they couldn't ignore the behavior of the humans. Federation agents observed an unusual uptick in human-led expeditions back to the original discovery site. Large-scale cargo freighters began making suspiciously secretive runs to unknown destinations. Encrypted transmissions between Earth and its deep space research stations increased tenfold. Something was happening, and the Federation didn't like being left out. The first direct confrontation occurred when a Federation task force attempted to inspect a human freighter suspected of smuggling restricted materials. The humans protested, citing interstellar trade laws. But under mounting pressure, they reluctantly allowed the inspection. The Federation found nothing. Or rather, they found exactly what they had expected: raw minerals, fuel cells, basic metals. Nothing that could explain the secrecy. They hadn't realized yet that humans had already devised advanced containment methods that rendered the substance undetectable by conventional scans. Still, the incident was enough to raise alarms within the Federation's higher councils. ####### A potential threat to the galactic order. Not all species within the Federation were blind to the possibility that something was amiss. The Vorak, a reptilian species known for its paranoia, voiced concerns during a closed-door council meeting. Their ambassador, Crawley's Vor, stated plainly, **The humans are hiding something. They are not known for their restraint. If they have discovered something that enhances their abilities, we must assume they will use it to gain an advantage over us. Many others dismissed the Vorak's fears as unwarranted paranoia. Humanity was still a young species on the galactic stage, vastly outnumbered and outgunned by the combined might of the Federation's strongest civilizations. What could they possibly do with a simple mineral? But others weren't so sure. The Selari, a highly intellectual and pacifist race, argued that if such a substance truly existed, withholding it from the rest of the galaxy would be an ethical violation. If humans had discovered something capable of enhancing sentient life, should they not share it with everyone? But that was the problem. It only worked on humans. The moment the Federation realized this, their perspective changed. This wasn't the galactic breakthrough, it was a species-specific advantage. And that made it a dangerous imbalance in the eyes of many. #####humanity's dilemma. Back on Earth, world leaders and top scientists debated their next move. Some argued that the substance should be kept secret forever. If the Federation learned the truth, they would almost certainly move to control or confiscate it, perhaps even restrict humanity's access to it. Others believed that while secrecy was necessary, humans should begin preparing for the inevitable conflict. A growing faction, primarily from military and defense sectors, saw this discovery as an opportunity. For the first time in history, humanity had an edge. The Federation had always viewed them as second-rate, a species of survivalists, soldiers, and improvisers, but nothing more. That perception was about to change. If we use this right, one admiral had argued during a classified briefing, we won't just be equals. We'll be superior. Not everyone agreed. Some feared that playing with such power would only lead to destruction. A peaceful approach might be the best option, perhaps even controlled negotiations with the Federation to ensure that humanity could retain access to the substance without starting an arms race. But those who studied history knew better. The moment the Federation realized what humanity had, they would try to take it. The preparations began in secret. Deep space colonies were outfitted with defense grids. Research stations were moved to hidden locations, their transmissions encrypted beyond anything the Federation had ever cracked. The first human-enhanced military teams were trained in absolute secrecy. Because war wasn't a question of if. It was only a question of when. ###3. The Galactic Federation's response The Galactic Federation, composed of species with millennia of wisdom and power, had rarely faced an existential threat. For most of its history, it had relied on diplomacy, trade, and peaceful coexistence to maintain order in the galaxy. But now, with the discovery of the substance and the rise of humanity's potential, the Federation faced a dilemma. What to do when one species holds a unique power that could disrupt the delicate balance of intergalactic peace? Hashtag the vote to restrict humanity. The Federation Council convened an emergency session. Representatives from all corners of the galaxy, some with long histories of diplomatic relations with Earth, others with less favorable views, came together to deliberate. There was an unmistakable sense of urgency. The situation was more complicated than any one race could handle alone. The humans had stumbled upon something extraordinary, a substance that had altered the very fabric of their biological makeup. While initial tests showed that it worked only on humans, the Federation was concerned that this discovery could tip the balance of power in the galaxy. Humans, once seen as a footnote in galactic history, now had the potential to surpass every species in terms of intellectual and physical prowess. Ambassador Crawley's Vor of the Vorok was the first to speak. His species had a long history of paranoia and distrust, and his words echoed that sentiment. This substance gives humanity an insurmountable advantage. It is only a matter of time before they use it to dominate others. The fact that it works only on humans is irrelevant. What matters is that they could, if left unchecked, create a species that is vastly superior to us in every way. His words hung in the air as other delegates shifted uncomfortably. The Shavran, a race of peaceful telepaths, added their voice to the growing chorus of concern. We cannot allow a single species to wield such power. If we allow humanity to continue accessing this substance, we risk the collapse of everything we've built over the last 10 millennia. We must act before it is too late. The debate raged on for hours. Many species argued that humanity should be restricted from further access to the substance, while others pushed for a diplomatic solution. There was an undercurrent of fear among the delegates, a fear that perhaps the Federation itself was no longer in control. But even those who advocated for restricting humanity's access knew they could not act hastily. After all, Earth was part of the Federation now, and the issue of whether to violate the rights of a member species was not one to be taken lightly. The final vote was narrow, but the decision was clear. The Federation would initiate a restricted access policy for humanity. The humans would be forbidden from further research or usage of the substance, and any samples would be confiscated and studied by the Federation. Earth would be allowed to keep it secret for a time, but a rigorous monitoring system would be put in place to ensure compliance. Espionage and sabotage. As soon as the Federation vote was passed, Earth's government became aware of the decision. The transmission came through encrypted channels, but the message was clear. Humanity had been officially placed under suspicion. Federation inspectors were already on their way to Earth, and the entire galaxy was aware of the potential dangers the humans now posed. But humans, unlike any other species the Federation had encountered, were not easily cowed. The moment the vote was finalized, clandestine operations went into full swing. While some factions on Earth called for diplomacy, a growing underground movement within the scientific community knew that cooperation with the Federation was impossible. There could be no peaceful resolution when humanity's future was at stake. Intelligence officers began monitoring the Federation's movements, tracking every ship and diplomatic envoy that approached Earth. The government authorized covert operations to prevent any Federation vessel from docking at Earth's space stations. More importantly, humanity's scientific community worked feverishly to develop countermeasures to the Federation's inevitable surveillance. It wasn't long before Federation spies began infiltrating Earth, hoping to uncover the truth. They attempted to access top-secret research facilities and steal data, but they were met with unexpected resistance. Human ingenuity, specifically the very intelligence the substance had unlocked, proved more than a match for even the Federation's finest operatives. One night, a Federation spy named Zorath, a Kisser operative skilled in subterfuge, infiltrated an Earth facility. His mission was clear: retrieve any data on the substance and report back to the Federation. But the moment he entered the lab, alarms sounded. A trap. Zorath was caught, and human agents swiftly disarmed him. His data was extracted, and his ship was destroyed before he could report back to his superiors. Zorath's failure sent shockwaves through the Federation. It became clear that humans had far more resources, both in terms of intelligence and technological ingenuity, than they had ever imagined. They weren't just reacting to the Federation's moves, they were planning, anticipating, and outsmarting them at every turn. Hashtag, 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 hashtag a growing resistance. Despite the increasing pressure from the Federation, a new movement was born on Earth. Humanity had learned of the Federation's true intentions, not to protect the galaxy, but to control it. The more the Federation tried to restrict them, the more humans rallied to the cause. They were no longer just a species seeking survival in the galaxy, they were a species on the verge of ascension. And they weren't going to let anyone take that away from them. The movement grew quickly. Military officers, scientists, and diplomats who believed humanity's future should not be dictated by the Federation began gathering in secret. They formed alliances with alien defectors who shared their views, creating a shadow network that spanned the galaxy. These allies understood what was at stake. They had seen the potential in humanity and knew that restricting them would only lead to disaster. As the movement grew, so did the tension between Earth and the Federation. The war drums were beating softly, but they were growing louder. No one could predict how long this delicate balance would hold. What was clear, however, was that the Federation's control over humanity was crumbling. The humans were no longer the weak, naive species they had once been. They had evolved into something new, something dangerous. And the Federation was beginning to realize it too late. Hashtag, 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 hashtag a desperate ultimatum. With relations at a breaking point, the Federation's Supreme Council delivered an ultimatum to Earth. Surrender the substance. Destroy all research. Cease any further exploration into its effects. Or face the consequences. Humanity would not be silenced. They would not be controlled. And if the Federation insisted on pushing them into a corner, they would be forced to act. The stage was set. The question was no longer if humanity would defend itself, but how far it was willing to go to protect its newfound power. The Federation had no idea what was coming. Hashtag, hashtag, hashtag 4. The confrontation and aftermath asterisk asterisk. The tensions between the Galactic Federation and humanity had reached a boiling point. The Federation's ultimatum had been delivered, demanding that humanity destroy all knowledge of the substance and cease any further research. Earth, however, had made its stance clear. They would not comply. The Federation's attempt to control or stifle humanity's evolution had only solidified their resolve. The inevitable clash was not a question of if, but when. Now, humanity stood on the precipice of an all-out confrontation with the Federation, a battle for their very future. Hashtag, 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 hashtag the build-up to war. As the Federation prepared for what they anticipated would be a swift and decisive campaign to force humanity into submission, Earth's leadership initiated a clandestine operation to fortify their defenses and prepare for a fight. There was no turning back now. If humanity was to survive as a free species, they would need to utilize every advantage they had gained from the substance. The first step was strengthening Earth's military and intelligence networks. No longer would Earth be the underdog species on the galactic stage. Scientists had worked tirelessly to understand how the substance interacted with human physiology, and now the military was incorporating these findings into their own operations. Human soldiers, once considered mere pawns by the Federation, were now enhanced beyond recognition, faster, stronger, more intelligent than any of their counterparts. The underground movement, composed of military officers, scientists, and strategists, rapidly began developing advanced weaponry using the enhanced intelligence of human scientists. What had once been an experimental advantage now translated into fully operational systems, AI-driven warships, advanced energy weapons, and stealth technologies that could evade even the most sophisticated Federation detection systems. The lines between humans and the Federation began to blur. The balance of power had irrevocably shifted. But even as Earth built its defenses, it knew that this fight would not be won by technology alone. It would be won by the will of the people. Across the Earth, cities and populations that had long been disillusioned with the Federation's bureaucratic control began to rally around the cause. Protests turned into organized movements, and citizens began openly calling for a total break from the Federation. The idea of a unified Earth, standing independent and free, was becoming a reality. The Federation, in its arrogance, had underestimated humanity. They believed that their superior fleets, long-standing alliances, and overwhelming technological advantage would be enough to crush a species that they considered little more than an upstart in the galactic community. But they were wrong. ########, the first strike. The war began with a strike, a preemptive attack from the Federation. Their fleet, massive and imposing, entered Earth space under the guise of a diplomatic mission, hoping to catch humanity off guard. But the Federation had miscalculated. The humans were ready. As soon as the Federation's warships entered Earth's solar system, they were met with fierce resistance. The battle began not in the cold vacuum of space, but in the skies above Earth. Human-made warships, designed using the very intelligence-enhanced minds of Earth's finest engineers, launched a series of surprise counterattacks. Advanced weaponry, developed under the watchful eyes of Earth's enhanced scientists, rained down on the Federation's ships. The Federation was shocked. Despite their technological superiority, humanity's new fleet fought with a ferocity and ingenuity that they had never anticipated. Human tactics were unpredictable, fluid, and innovative, exactly what one would expect from a species that had adapted to every challenge thrown at it. Humans had learned not just to survive, but to thrive under pressure. The Federation's ships, though technologically advanced, were not prepared for the human ingenuity that now powered Earth's defenses. While the Federation relied on rigid strategies and predictable tactics, the humans operated in ways that threw them off balance. The Federation's fleet suffered devastating losses, but they were still confident in their overwhelming numbers. However, that confidence was slowly eroded with every skirmish. #######, the Federation's counterattack. Realizing that their initial approach was faltering, the Federation unleashed their full military might. Hundreds of warships, supported by fleets of fighters, bombers, and planetary siege weapons, were dispatched to Earth's orbit. They believed that an overwhelming display of force would force humanity to capitulate. But what the Federation had failed to consider was the extent of humanity's strategic advantages. They had not accounted for the humans' enhanced intelligence or the determination of a species fighting for its very survival. Humans did not rely on sheer numbers or brute force alone. They fought with tactics that could only be devised by minds capable of thinking many steps ahead. One of the key turning points in the conflict came when a Federation destroyer, intended to be the flagship of the offensive, was disabled by a human-engineered weapon that utilized the very substance the Federation sought to control. Earth's scientists had developed an advanced gravitational pulse cannon capable of disrupting the energy fields of even the most powerful Federation ships. The attack was devastating. The Federation's flagship, the SS Virtuous, was struck in its core by a focused burst of energy. In a matter of moments, the ship was crippled, and its crew of thousands was forced to abandon ship. This loss was a symbolic blow to the Federation, one that shook their belief in their superiority. The human fleets didn't stop there. With their enhanced capabilities, the humans began to strike Federation supply lines, cutting off reinforcements and crippling their ability to maintain a prolonged war. It wasn't just a military conflict, it was a war of attrition, and the Federation was losing ground. #######, the turning point. Humanity's stand. The Federation, now struggling and outmatched, knew that they had to reconsider their strategy. Yet the tide had turned. Humanity had taken its place in the galactic community, not as an underdog, but as a force to be reckoned with. It was at this point that representatives from various Federation species began to consider a more diplomatic approach. The Vorik and the Shavran, who had been among the most vocal in calling for humanity's restriction, were the first to propose a ceasefire. A peace conference was held in neutral space. It was attended by delegates from all sides, including Earth's representatives, who now stood at the forefront of the negotiations. The Federation, realizing that it could no longer suppress humanity's progress, finally acknowledged the truth. Humanity had earned its place among the stars. The terms of peace were hard-fought but fair. The Federation agreed to halt its aggressive actions and allow humanity to retain access to the substance, with certain safeguards in place to prevent its misuse. In return, Earth would agree to share its research and technology, not with the Federation alone but with the galaxy as a whole. ############################################################################################################################################################################################################################################################################################################################################################################################### humanity stood victorious, not just in battle but